Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. This next conversation we are hoping brings greater focus on a story that we recently discovered, Emiliano's fight for a brighter future. This morning we are joined by Emiliano's parents, Lisani Flores, as well as Emil Flores, and we're also joined by a neurologist, Dr. Marco Mendez. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
So Emiliano, we discovered a bit recently that there is an appeal for him to receive some urgent medical care. There's a fundraiser taking place, but before we get into how we can support, let's get a bit of Emiliano's story and what wound us to having this conversation in the first place.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. My son Emiliano, he was born in December 7, 2024. After he was born, the doctors considered him healthy, and he was released from the hospital after 24 hours. Mm-hmm. But after a month or so, we started to notice that he started losing strength from his hip downwards, and he wasn't completing his motor skills as every other baby should do. We were very excited about the birth of our newborn, so we were looking forward to these special moments with him. Unfortunately, after that, everything has just been in and out of hospitals, and that is where we met Dr. Tulio Mendez along our journey. He was the one who advised us to seek medical attention in Merida as well, and from there, we sought another doctor in Chetumal. So we sought 3 opinions from different doctors, and during last month we received the devastating news that my son was diagnosed with what is known as spinal muscular atrophy.
Dr. Mendez, just for the sake of understanding moving forward, what is this diagnosis that we're talking about? How can you explain it?
Yeah, well, the spinal muscular atrophy is a genetic disease. You are born with, and it basically affects the part of our spinal cord, the anterior part of our spinal cord, that innervates, that causes the muscles to contract. Okay, so those motor neurons, very small in that area, are slowly going to be starting to disappear because there's lack of a gene that they call the SM1 gene, and that is where the spinal muscular atrophy affects, and that gene is the one that produces those survival motor neurons. So slowly the child will be starting to lose many of their motor skills. Okay, I remember that when they brought them to me, the baby was about 2 months, and almost immediately when I hold the baby just wrapped around my hand, and immediately that diagnosis comes because of the age of the baby, and at that time the baby was not even able to sustain the head. Okay, yes, they brought the baby so that I could do some nerve tests, and I told them that it is going to be a little bit painful because babies with this disease, they are able to feel pain. And I told them that it is not necessary. The best one is to do a genetic test that is done from the blood, and then you prove that this gene, the SM1 type 1 gene, is not present, and that gene is the one that gives that protein those nerve cells to survive for life.
Is this an uncommon disorder that we're finding here in Belize?
No, it is a very rare disease. Okay, all of us, in one way or another, could have that defect.
Okay.
More or less 1 out of 50 people could have that defect, but it just happens that both of them came together, and both of them have that defect in a chromosome.
I asked that because we've been seeing reactions online, and people are saying that it's their understanding that this is the first time that we've discovered or diagnosed something like this in the country. Can you speak to that?
Well, I have seen other babies, but yes, that possibly could be.
Okay.
But sometimes it is difficult for people to get the diagnosis. But they have done well, the best that they could, and that's how we know about that definitely this is the problem, and where the problem lies within the genes, that it's the SM1 gene.
So we know what the problem is. I want to talk about what you guys have taken as steps as parents to try to find out possible solutions. You spoke about getting up to 3 different opinions from doctors. What has that journey been like since then? It's just about 7 months now, yes?
Right, 7 months. So as my husband said, this all started when he was 2 months, and it's been, like you said, in and out of hospitals. We did start physical therapy for him because we thought he was just a global delay, right? We did see some slight improvement, but overall he just couldn't move his feet, his thighs, right, and over his shoulders. But it has been very heartbreaking because we expected to have, to enjoy this time with our son. He's our first son. Our families consider ourselves healthy. We've never seen this with any both side of the families. So for us to now face this is just very heartbreaking, and but it's been a surprise to us. It's been, I'm heartbroken, right? But at the end of the day, we were able to do the gene test. He is SMA type 1, right? That was what the results came back as. But now the treatment. How do we go about helping our son to basically stay alive? Because as you guys heard, he doesn't have a gene that will help him live, that helps him live, right? So if he doesn't get treatment, he might not make it, right? Which as a parent, what do you do? So there is treatment, right? The treatment that we're aiming for is a gene therapy treatment, right? And this treatment comes at a cost of $2 million US, right? I'm sure you can attest a little bit more of what this treatment entails, but as parents, we're going to try to do as much as we can for our son, but how do we go about getting the funds for him to be able to get treatment?
I would imagine that as a parent, like you said, you want to do everything you can. This hits home for me because I'm a father of a little daughter, and my daughter was born December 11th last year, which was only a couple days after baby Emiliano was born. And I could only imagine as a parent, those milestones are important, and you want to see your child hit those milestones, and when you realize that that's not happening, it can really affect you. But tell me how is Emiliano right now in terms of is he responsive, smiling, and does he interact?
He's a happy baby, Emiliano. He is in good spirits. Thankfully, this SMA only affects, like he said, the spine and his hands and feet, but his face is just, as you can see,
so he smiles, he laughs.
He smiles, he coos, he's just overall happy. His eyes are bright, so for us to see him slowly like basically fading away.
Doc, medical intervention, what does it look like? What can be done to help, and what's the future prospect?
Well, recently, because the therapists have recently advanced, before, let's say, 5 years, 10 years before, nothing could be done. Basically, supportive treatment and trying to see that the baby doesn't suffer too much. Because this baby intellectually they are okay.
Yeah,
Their
clearly.
brain is okay.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing that they are not able to move at all, and depending on the severity, they have various types. But the type 1 that their baby has really doesn't have that gene that is going to be provoked, causing that those motor neurons be able to contract those muscles. So recently, treatments, there are about 3 treatments, but the gene replacement therapy, which is a novelty, which is raw, like one would say, because with this treatment, what they did was get a virus that is not doesn't cause disease, and put the gene inside of the virus, and then it is injected into the baby, which is amazing. But yes, it is very expensive.
And I imagine it's also not done here in Belize as well.
Yeah, it's not done in Belize. And it is just for about an hour, because it's just
Wow.
infused
Wow.
through
It's
the
an
vein.
IV.
It's an
It's like
IV,
an
and it's a
IV.
one-time
And it
replacement.
No, 2 million is a lot to raise. Let's make no mistake about that. But efforts are underway. Talk a bit about how we're going about raising these funds. There's a goal, there's hope that we can meet this goal. How are we going about doing
And also
that?
a timeline. What's the timeline looking
Yes,
like
it
to
is.
ensure that we get some of these
Okay,
monies
yes,
together?
let's talk
That is
first
very
now.
important, right? The timeline of trying to get this, because the more time passes, those neurons they die, because they don't have that protein to maintain them, and be able to survive. So we're talking about, if the baby doesn't get the treatment in 2 years, it's gonna die. More or less, right now he's still within that time, because there are still neurons that are still there that have survived, and with the gene therapy, that those neurons will be able to survive. Of course, there are other treatments. What happens is that there are 2 genes. This one is the one that produces the gene 1 is the one that produces the 90% of the protein. The gene 2 is only 10%. And yes, the baby has some of the type 2, and other treatments that are available that are still expensive, because you're talking about $500,000, $300,000. That will make the baby prolong as to get that other treatment, the
which is
replacement
absolutely
therapy.
necessary. So let's go back to support and how we're seeking to raise these funds. There's a GoFundMe. I saw a raffle as well recently. Let's talk about that and how the community is coming together.
Okay, well, first of all, we want to give thanks to everyone who have been kind enough, whose heart our son's story has touched. We have received a lot of donations via our bank accounts that we have been publicizing via Facebook, and also, like you mentioned, we do have a GoFund that we have created. So there are also other ways that we have been trying to raise funds via raffles, via our families have been doing, food sales and stuff like that. It seems impossible, but we are believing in a miracle. We are believing in trusting to believe in God.
Yeah.
And we are also reaching out to organizations out there. We are sending emails, applying for grants, applying for assistance, funding from these big hospitals, for example, St. Jude's, Shriners. But so far we haven't gotten any positive feedback from them.
What's the timeline in terms of when you want to make a visit or travel, an initial trip? Do you have any timeline right now?
Well, as soon as possible, basically. Right. So if an opportunity would come up, we would go tomorrow if that was possible, right? So the timeline is very important because, as was explained, he has to receive this gene therapy before he's 2. But apart from that too, he must not have any other complications. Right now, his breathing is starting to get a little bit. It's a bit harder for him to breathe, right? So we've been trying to help him out with that, with as much as we could, but yeah, we're just praying and hoping that a door might open that we may act on and get him the help that he needs, which is this treatment.
So there are several fundraisers taking place, as you guys mentioned, raffles and even food sales. But for persons who might be tuning in and simply just want to make a donation, how can they do so?
Right. Well, we do have our accounts. We have a Belize Bank and a Heritage account, and we also have a GoFundMe page as well. For people outside of Belize might want to give. That's the way that they can give.
Do you have a
how can we
number
reach you by number?
you're using for the public?
Yes, it's our personal ones.
Could you share it?
Yeah, 615-5735.
All right.
614-9302.
All right. Well, you want to say something finally, Doc?
I just want to really say that it is commendable that what they are doing, because sometimes we have those types of children and you don't hear about them. I mean, family would just say, oh, he died because, well, he was suffering or that, and it goes away, and we don't have this, we don't get to know about deep problem that sometimes could affect families with all the emotional and of course the child that is suffering, you know. So kudos to them that are just pushing to see how best they could make
Doc,
this child survive.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much. We want to encourage the public out there to reach out to the family, lend a helping hand if you can, support through the bank accounts, through the GoFundMe, and even if it's saying a little prayer right now for them, if that's all you have in this moment, you could send a little prayer. Take a moment to send a prayer. We're all in this together. Creole said today could be me and tomorrow it could be you, right? And so as a community, we all come together and see how we could support. But thank you all so much for your bravery and your courage for coming on set and sharing your story.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
All right. So with that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have our final conversation. You don't want to miss this one. Stay tuned.